Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ev, and this is episode 28 of Knits and Babbles. Knits and Babbles is a podcast type episode where I sit down once a month and go through everything that I've casted off, casted on, what I'm about to work on, what I'm spinning on, and it's just kind of what's going on in my little knitting world. It's a more casual, laid back style of video compared to my videos where I make a project from start to end. It's supposed to be once a month, but I just took a look and the last time I filmed a Knits and Babbles was actually in September. So this is a way long overdue. I didn't do one for January because I did everything I knit in 2025 and I felt that that would just repeat a lot. As for December, I was focused on doing the Vlogmas styled video. Now for November and October, I have no excuses. I don't know why I didn't film a Knits and Babbles. As always, starting off with what I'm wearing today, I'm actually wearing my Dune wrap. It's a pattern by Sophia Scotford. It is this beautiful, very simple vest with a little bow attachment. It is a front panel and then a crisscross. So it's kind of like an open cardigan styled knit. So it's a lot of back and forth knitting, not knitting in the round. This was knit up with some Boucle yarn. I believe it was the DK weight Boucle held with a mohair. That's what the pattern calls for. I knit mine using Kensington Prairie Farm, their Boucle yarn. It's like a new yarn they had at Knit City this year. I just fell in love with this green. And with that, I decided to pair with the Marsh Mohair from Lichen and Lace. It is one of the softest mohairs I've ever felt. I think it's because it has mulberry silk in the center. I've noticed mohairs that don't come with a regular silk, but with a mulberry, they tend to be a little bit softer, whereas Drops, I think, has a regular silk in the center. It's not as soft. It also has much shorter mohair and staple length. This one has really long fibers of mohair. I wonder if that also impacts how soft your mohair tends to be. Drops is a lot more affordable, so if you've tried it for your first mohair and you didn't like it because it was a little itchy and prickly, go and try and find one with a mulberry silk inside or a longer staple length. It really feels different, and that's kind of what I look for when I'm searching for a mohair. The wrap was also one of my last cast off of 2025. I think I blocked it in 2026, but technically the knitting was done and I've been wearing it ever since. I really like this top. It's surprisingly not too warm for the fact that it has mohair and alpaca. I think what really helps is that it's open collar at the front and then there's just no sleeves. So it's just a nice little cozy thing for a really ugly gray day like today. I have a new cast off to show you guys. I just finished this one last night by sewing the sleeve cuffs, like closing them and doing the knit two together, slip the stitch over the next one, knit two together, slip the stitch, and doing that type of cast off. So here is my project that I started end of July/August. This one has been a really long one in the works. This is the Tide Loop Tee by Other Loops. I think this is my first pattern from Other Loops. I really like her designs. They're beautiful, and the moment I saw this one, I knew I wanted it. She knit it in more of a summer-friendly fiber, and she knit it in a white or a cream. I really fell in love with this purple. So this is my version. I knit the small. I knit mine using yarn from Les Garcons. I have the little tag right here that came with the skein. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it, if I'm just gonna leave that here, maybe not at the collar, maybe I'll pin it somewhere. I don't really know. I had bought 2 skeins thinking I would need more, and turns out I just needed one. I still have yarn left. I used way less yarn than the original pattern recommended. This is British 4-ply. It is 70% BFL wool and 30% Masham wool. So my t-shirt is 100% wool. We'll see how that wears. And it is 400 meters, the 100 gram skeins. So I used less than 400 meters for this t-shirt, which is kind of insane. The exact color is Roseanne's First Knit, by the way. The reason why this one took so long is because I needed to follow the chart for the waves. Thankfully, it wasn't just like black and gray squares, but it actually put 6 stitches of white, 6 stitches of gray, 10 stitches of white, 12 stitches of gray. So I knew like the whites were the knits and the grays were the purl. So I knew just by looking at it quickly, I didn't have to count each individual square. However, I still needed to follow the chart for every couple of rows. I believe the waves were spaced out to be every 8 or 9 rows. So you're mainly working on the stockinette side, and then the ribs, which will become the stockinette on the flip side, are every couple of rows. So you're not purling the entire time you knit, which I think was perfect, because who wants to purl 50 million stitches? This is what the sleeve looks like, and then on the inside you have stockinette and then folded down with the knit two together cast off style, which was very simple to do. I actually really like this cast off. It looks really seamless, especially on the outside, and then it's just so much easier than Italian bind off, which also means I could rip it back so much easier. But now flipping it outside in the correct way, you can probably tell there's a very drastic difference between my main body and my sleeves, because the main body is blocked, but not the sleeves. I got so scared while knitting up the main body, because you can probably tell this is what happens when you knit it up. The fabric really scrunches up together because it is just knits and purls, whereas the body, you can kind of clearly tell the spaces for the waves. So when it came time to cast off, because I worked to the chart exactly for my size, my t-shirt ended up probably at about my rib, which was way too short for a cropped tee even. I don't remember if I cast it off or not, but I blocked the body with the collar just to make sure that it fit properly before working on the arms. Now, technically, I could just block the two sleeves, but I think I'm just gonna block it all one more time just to make sure it's all blocked out even. But I'm really excited to see how wide and long these sleeves are gonna get, because they're supposed to be pretty big sleeves. This is gonna be a perfect t-shirt till the summer starts, like a perfect, not winter tee, but maybe spring and fall tee. It is 100% wool again, so we're definitely gonna see in the long run what exactly happens to this. It's a loose knit, so hopefully in the underarms it's not gonna felt too much or pill too much. Might not be able to wear this one all the time because it is 100% wool, and wool tends to felt and pill, but I'm really excited to add this to my wardrobe. I feel like right now I'm kind of in a t-shirt craze, and you're gonna see why. In terms of current whips, I'm just gonna start with the one that's the furthest along the way. I think I'm also in a very blue phase right now. This is probably the third time in different months that I'm working with a very similar blue. This is my Maggie cardigan, or my Maggie sweater by Petite Knit. What's fun about this one is it's a t-shirt sweater, so it's not long sleeves. I think right now I'm at the part where I can start the ribbing for the body, but I think I'm gonna work the sleeves first, see how that knits up, and then I'll do the ribbing for the body, or try it on and maybe add a little bit of length to the body, because it seems a little bit short. It is rolling quite a lot because it's just on the needles right now. I also put a little pin at the front just to show you guys the collar, because again, it's rolling. The pattern says that it's supposed to be 17 inches or 17.5 inches from the back collar for the whole body length, which is where I'm at. Yet I feel like doing the sleeves first, seeing how it fits, how it looks, and then decide if I want to add a little bit of length to the body or just work the ribbing right away. I really like this blue, and as I said, this is probably the third time that I'm working with a very similar blue. The first time was the Novice Slipover, again by Petite Knit, but this one was a gift knit for my sister. And then the second time I knit the Onling mittens in my advent calendar. This one was gifted for my mom, a very similar blue again. This one is just a little bit more dusty, ashy of a blue, which I particularly really love. This is wool from Les Biscottes. This is the first yarn. It is Merica by Patrick Knits. It is 100% American Rambouillet Merino, 411 meters, the 100 grams hank or 100 grams cake now. And with that, I'm holding this new to me yarn, Uma by Amano. This one really piqued my interest, and that's because it is silk, Surrey alpaca, and mohair. Normally, lace weights are either Surrey alpaca or mohair, never both. So I really wanted to see how this would knit up and work. Together, they worked up beautifully. There is a little bit of a shade difference or tone difference between the two, the yarn being a little bit darker and then this one just being a little bit more of a baby blue. However, in a swatch and knit up, they balance each other really well, and the lighter blue kind of takes over, I feel, compared to the darker blue. really cool. The Surrey alpaca and the mohair made this quite a dense material and a dense type of fuzz. It's very different than your typical Surrey only and mohair only. I keep saying that, but it really does feel different. I'm excited to see how this one wears in the long run, what it feels like to have both these fibers together in one yarn. It'll probably be very warm, which is why I'm also glad that this is a t-shirt and not a full-on sweater. Yeah, that could be really warm. February is the shortest month of the year, so we'll see what I have next time. Maybe I'll have it done, or maybe I'll just have the sleeves done. Who knows? Who knows? A couple videos ago, I said I couldn't find my yarn for the Traveler Shawl by Andrea Mowry. It was yarn that I spun up last fall. It was 1-ply Hanui and then 2 plies of Rambouillet spun together in this beautiful pastel color. Well, I found it. So these are 2 of the 4 skeins. The Hanui was dyed by Brambles Ridge, and then the 2 Ramboulets were dyed by Little Fiber Co. that I picked up at Flocked. The reason why I couldn't find it was because it was in the completely wrong storage place. The yarn, for some reason, was actually with my washed and unwashed raw wool, like in a bag in there. I don't remember putting it in there, but the whole giant bin I have is just unprepped wool. So I don't know why I would have put this with that, but the moment I found it, I immediately cast it on the Traveler Shawl by Andrea Mowry. This is where I'm at. This is the front and then this is the back. It's not just your regular rib. The back has 3 rows of purl, whereas the front only has 2, which is giving it like a very interesting texture. I'm making the first size. There's 2 different sizes in the pattern. And what I really like so far is how the colors are changing and shifting. Each row of rib is kind of a different color. I'm assuming as it grows, that might become more muddied, or I might get like changes of colors as I'm knitting it up, because you keep increasing as you work up. I think I need to get to 270 stitches of increases. You do like alternating rows, different increases and setups. But having knit the cowl first, this one is pretty much a muscle memory at this point, and I don't need the pattern with me. I remember when I first casted that one on, I had a bit of a tough time because I kept getting my rows mixed up and I wasn't following it to the T, and I kept getting confusing. It took me so long to realize that it's 3 purls on one side and 2 on the other. I don't know why, but I was on a trip knitting it, so my mind wasn't fully invested in this knit, so there was a lot of ripping back. But now it's just mindless knitting, and I can knit while watching TV. I really like this one. What's also fun is you do increases every single row, but you change how many increases you do every couple of rows. And then you're changing between knits and purl rows. So it's a stimulating one, but it's not that difficult of a knit. This one is worked up with 1 triangle, and then I think I'm gonna pick up stitches along one of these and then start another triangle in another way. I know that I have a little bit less yarn than what the pattern recommends. So I know I'm not gonna increase to as many stitches on the first triangle. So then when I pick up for the second triangle, I'm gonna pick up a little bit less to work with my meterage. I think I'm just off by like 10 meters in my total spin, like yarn count, but I really wanted to use this yarn for this project. It is very different and much more pale than my cowl. My cowl was very autumn color palette. This one's almost giving like baby blanket vibe, but because it is kind of like a grayish pastel, I just really like it, and I find it doesn't look too much like a baby blanket. It's not like baby pink and baby blue. It's more like a grayish baby blue and baby pink. Same again with my Maggie cardigan or Maggie sweater. It's also like a grayish blue and not that much of a baby blue. Then I have a pickle of a cast on because this one caused me a little bit of anxiety, which is my own doing. It's the yarn I chose from the get-go. When I went to Les Garçons in Montreal in January, I picked up this beautiful red. This is actually a yarn story by Opus, or it is Opus by a yarn story. The color is actually called cranberry, so it's not that red. It's a little bit more of like a purple mauve red or cranberry red. It really, yeah, the name really suits it. The store actually carried 4 different shades of red. So there was one that was red, like Christmas red. There was an orange red. There was a much pink or purple red. And then this one, which was actually named cranberry, which is very true to the color it kind of is. It might be a little bit pink, blue. I don't know, there's like a really cool undertone to this yarn. So this is 70% Argentinian merino, 30% baby alpaca, and it is a sport weight yarn. This is where I made a mistake because when I went to the shop, I knew I wanted to get a red, and I wanted to get a red yarn for the Shoreline tee by Ozetta, another t-shirt. I don't know what it is. All my patterns in this video are t-shirts. This is actually going to be my first Ozetta pattern, and I'm excited because I keep seeing them pop up over on Instagram, and they're beautiful knits. Because this yarn is a sport weight, the pattern actually calls for a DK weight. So I bought this and I said, I'm gonna buy a fingering to hold with it. But when I got home, I got very lazy and I didn't go to the yarn shop to check my colors and make sure that I bought the right color. I also knew I didn't want a mohair because it's a t-shirt. I didn't want it to be fuzzy. I kind of just wanted a lace alpaca. And I also started to search if there's any other alternatives than a lace alpaca or a lace cashmere. And there isn't really, which is surprising to me. I feel like there should be more lace alternatives to mohair or alpaca suri. Instead of being smart and going to a yarn shop, I ordered some Filcolana. This is Alva. It is 100% lace weight alpaca. Now this is the color Christmas red. This is my cranberry. They're very different. Hopefully the camera can pick it up because on the viewfinder right now, they look kind of the same. But this one is definitely more purple pink. This is very Christmas red. I started knitting up a swatch of the 2 strands together and I hated it. This made me realize that not only do the colors need to be similar, but the undertones need to match. That's very, very important because the Christmas red, the Alva, it is such a red, like an orange red, and then the sport weight yarn is a lot more purple blue of an undertone. It just clashes, and especially in the daylight or in the sunlight, it looks horrendous. It looks really, really bad. Immediately, I knew that I wouldn't be able to find a matching red at my yarn shop because online, all of their lace weight that was red was, again, very bright Christmas red, very bright red, like fire truck red. So I knew I had to go on the web again, which was a really pain in the butt. In the end, the closest thing that I found with a lot of research, I spent days on this, but the closest thing that I found was actually Holst Garn. It is their Titicaca, 100% pure thin alpaca. 50 grams is 400 meters. So for this one, I only needed 3 skeins, which was a much easier skein count to buy, especially if it's gonna be the wrong color. And it ended up being the perfect match. I don't think I could have matched this any better. Holst Garn has so many different shades in their yarns, which is amazing. And this was actually ordered from the Holst Garn site because my local yarn shop had this yarn. They just didn't have this specific color. And this color is actually called the Venetian color by Holst Garn. And they have many different reds or many different shades and hues. This one was the one that resembled on the pictures the closest to the picture for the original yarn of this skein. This is probably the best match I could ever get from online shopping. It is surprising how beautiful these 2 yarns work together seamlessly. I'm astonished compared to this horrendous fire truck red. I spent days like searching between pictures and searching between different Ravelry projects to make sure that these blended perfectly. There's still a little bit of a difference, but they're so close. I am so amazed. The moment I opened up this skein, I knew that I would cast on the project and work it up. I didn't even knit a swatch. What also skipped my swatch knitting was because it is a saddle shoulder. So I used that as a swatch, and I've worked up both shoulders. So this is going to be connected in the back in the next stage. With a closer look, the 2 colors blend in so much better than the original swatch I started with. So there's no regrets in buying this new yarn. It is frustrating that I had to buy a new yarn for it, and now I'm stuck with so much of the Alva. Again, I will find something to do with it, but I feel like in the past, I normally would have also maybe just sucked it up and knit with the Alva because technically I could. This wasn't that bad of a decision or a choice. It could have worked and would have looked fine, but because these cables are such a soft design and because I already decided not to go with the mohair because I didn't want to clash with the very soft cables that are going to be everywhere on the tee, I also didn't want the yarn to be marled or have any texture to it too much. So I feel like if I had continued with this, it could have been fine, but that would have always icked me and rubbed me the wrong way, where I probably wouldn't be able to wear this t-shirt as much as if I spent the money and got new yarn again. I feel like now at this stage where I am with my knitting, I want to stop doing that, because in the past I used to kind of ignore little tiny inconveniences and just work through it, thinking I would wear it anyways, but every time I pick up those knits now to wear them, the inconveniences are the reasons I'm not wearing them. So at the stage I am in my knitting cycle or knitting world, I want to fix what I can when I can so that I can wear each piece as much as possible and not have those pieces in my closet that are okay, but I don't put them on because there's just a little thing that bugs me. So I really want to stop that. Hopefully next time I will have connected both shoulders and then started working on the yoke construction for this t-shirt. I really like it. It's a very fun knit, a very simple cable twisted knit, very pleasant, and the yarn feels really soft and really good. I'm excited. In theory, this project was already a little bit of a pickle to cast on, but if it means I'm gonna wear it more, I feel like that's higher priority. Those are my current whips right now. I'm about to cast on a new one, which brings me into a little bit of a topic, swatches. Because, for example, the Shoreline tee, I'm using the shoulders as a swatch, and I'm not gonna be knitting one, or I didn't knit one, and I'm just gonna keep knitting from there. I tend to do that a lot. Or the first sweater that I showed you guys, the Maggie sweater, or the Maggie Cardigan, that one I didn't knit a swatch. I just knit the back panel and then measured gauge when I hit about 4 inches or so. That one I just met gauge and I didn't need to unravel. I know I say that I don't really knit swatches having a wall of swatches behind me, which is kind of ironic, but these are all accumulated over the couple of years that I've been knitting, and then the bottom is just from my fiber breed of the month study. So those ones I'm knitting swatches to see and show you guys how the yarn is working up. But other than that, I don't really knit swatches, which made me very curious as to when you guys knit swatches. So over in the Discord server, I did make a little poll asking when everybody knits swatches, and we kind of had a little bit of a discussion about that. And what really started that interest or curiosity is because I had to knit a swatch for my own design again. So this is my swatch for the Everyday Bonnet, a pattern that is currently being test knit. This is what really spiraled me, because I knit swatches for myself, but I don't knit swatches for other designs. Whereas this is the swatch for the original Everyday Bonnet, the sample size that I made, the small. I used some handspun yarn. This was Bond with some yak. Now the reason why I knit the swatch is to knit it alongside with my test knitters, but at the same time I wanted to try a new yarn combination because I really like this little blue ball of yarn. I have 2 skeins of these. This is Earth Yarns, it is Spiral Grain, and it is Superwash Extra Fine Merino, but it is a light worsted weight. The pattern calls for worsted / light Aran weight, depending if you're using like the really airy blown out yarns, kind of like the Alpaca. I used Gazelle Alpaca for my second one, but then for my first project, I just used a worsted weight, handspun, wool, and yak, and it worked really well. So because this is a light worsted, I wanted to know if it would work with a mohair held together to then bring it to a worsted weight / light Aran weight. Hopefully that's not too confusing. So this here is the Sandnes Garn Tin Mohair, which is mohair, wool, and a polyamide or silk, I believe. And I also just wanted to check and make sure that these 2 colors would work really well together. I love the fact that the navy kind of tones down the original specs and colors in the merino yarn, because there are more sections where it's orange. You don't see it right now, but on the inside, this is like 3 singles of different colors plied together. I really wanted the mohair to kind of tone it down and unify the colors together. So that is what I'm going to be casting on a little bit later today. But this all kind of led me in my little deep spiral about swatching. I think I'm going to try to be a bit better at swatch knitting, because these are both blocked swatches. Yes, they are different sizes, but you can still tell how drapey the fabric gets. This is a 2x2 rib. It was a lot more dense and compact when knitting it up, which brings me to another point. For example, the shoulder, maybe I'll block one of them out before picking up and working the panel, because a wet blocked fabric is so different compared to when it is right off the needle. So I feel like I should be blocking not just for my own knits or when I'm testing out yarn weights and colors, but also for actual pattern designs. I want to be a little bit better at that. But this is something I keep telling myself, that I will be making more swatches, but it feels like such a waste of time because I'm usually so eager and excited to cast on the knit and just knit it up. Yeah. Do you knit swatches? I don't know. The last thing I wanted to share with you guys today is handspun yarn. This is the first spin of 2026. I just finished it last night and washed and blocked it. It dried overnight. It is beautiful. I really like this kind of pastel light blue. This was a bat from Melly Knits for the Sommelier Club, the Blossom group, and it was for the month of August last year. I actually really like the shades of teal in this one, and this was a chaos bat. So this has silk in it. It was Posy, that's the name of the sheep, de Bouillet by Wool Maiden in BC, blended with 5% sari silk, recycled sari silk, and then 5% mulberry silk. So that is what gave it this kind of like teal color, because the original wool was very white and fluffy. It's a really squishy, airy yarn, and this yarn is very soft, very squishy. I can't emphasize how squishy and downy like this wool feels. It is a DK weight / worsted because it was 10 wraps per inch with a couple sections of 11 wraps per inch. It is 100 grams, just like all her bats normally are, and it is 202 meters of yarn. I'm so happy that this was the first spin of 2026. The only thing is, I knew when spinning this one up, this is actually going to be a gift. I'm not going to be keeping this one because this is for one of my test knitters. I'm going to be giving this one away to Honeybird Studios. That's her handle here on YouTube, but she was also one of my test knitters. Now, I don't give handspun yarns to all my test knitters. Normally how I do it is you can pick a pattern for free out of my designs. That's how most people run their test knits, but because she had also test knit for the leftover candy sock prior, the everyday scarf and the leftover candy socks are currently the only two patterns I have available to purchase. I wanted to give her something a little bit more special because a couple years ago, I think 2 years now, she sewed 2 beautiful project bags, or she had sewed in the past but then gifted me these project bags. They even have her little label, Honeybird Studio, which I thought was super cute that she made little labels. I think she used to sell these at one point, but it's a really nice size project bag. The gray one that I have is a little bit bigger, and I never gave her something in exchange or in return for these. I didn't know what to give her, and I didn't really spin yarn that well. I think at that time I was just starting on spindle spins. I really wanted to give her something nice. So I think she'll love this. Hopefully she does. It is a really soft, beautiful wool. It's not like a super soft, kind of like an alpaca, but it's not a rustic, itchy wool at all. It's a beautiful blue, and I just can't wait to see what she knits with it. Hopefully she likes this teal. We'll see. So that kind of sums up today's knits and babbles. So I'm gonna go kick up some yarn for my bonnet, which should be released, I think, in 2 weeks from now, depending on when you're watching this video. But if you've made it all the way through to the end, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're all having a beautiful, lovely day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.